Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk here at Black Hat USA. Terry Sweeney, contributing editor with Dark Reading, and joining us now on the dais is Saryu Nayyar, CEO of Gurucul. She is being joined by Neda, Pitt, CISO with Belk. Ladies, thank you for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. It's awesome.
We are talking about market disruption in SIEM technology, which is a potent and timely topic. There's obviously been a lot of consolidation in the security, information, and event management market. So you kick us off by just helping us understand what's driving all this market consolidation.
Yeah, Terry, that's a great question. There is so much activity going on in the SIEM space. It's almost beyond imaginable, right? Because nobody thought a set market that's been around for decades is going to disrupt this fast and this quickly and with the amount of activity we've seen with mergers, acquisitions, or May 15th was a pretty historic day. Some are saying there were multiple SIEM companies that crashed and burned that day, and a conversation for a later time, but yes, it's a very interesting time. And why is all of this change happening? The change is happening because when companies weren't really solving the real problems, right? There are a lot of companies who had the promise of going IPO, raised a ton of money, were pushing the go-to-market without really spending the money they needed to do on the product, the R&D, and listening to the customers and solving real problems. And that's led to all of these mergers, and in some ways a lot of dreams being crashed because they really wanted to take the company to a next level, and it's a big market opportunity. We're also seeing a lot of new companies who are in different space understand that there is an opportunity wanting to come in because there are problems to solve, but they're very early and are pushing this platform approach, which after some recent incidents it's pretty dangerous, right? We got to diversify our risk. So that's what's happening. So to sum it up, I would say lack of innovation, lack of listening to the customers and solving real problems, right, is the key thing, and spending maybe most of the money on sales and marketing versus really building a solid platform.
Thanks for that. Neda, how's it been from the end user perspective? Has it been head spinning or something else? Tell us how that's turned out from your side.
So the rapid change in the market has been, I think from a CISO's point of view, a long time coming, right? It's some of the products that have been, legacy products, you need an army, right? And we don't really have armies, right? And so that's always been the problem. And so in this new market where, the customers like Gurucul are actually listening to, the vendors are actually listening to the customers, that it makes a difference, right? Because the time to market, the time to find the ROI, I don't need an army of people to get these things up and running. So I get visibility at a much faster rate, and half of the battle for CISOs is visibility, right? Okay. And being able to do something with that visibility. So it's been, for me, a long time coming to get to a place where I can really trust and know that I'm going to be able to drive and get that visibility that I need and get that really potent help from the AI and ML engines to help my organization.
Well, let's dig in there. Big data is a significant and a particular challenge in the SIEM market, especially with AI. The large language models, these are terabytes and petabytes volumes of data to be juggling in real time, like on exponential levels. But yet you also need to have the visibility that you were talking about in order to calculate an organization's risk posture. Talk about how Gurucul is addressing this challenge, this internal challenge for the SIEM technology itself.
Great question, and I would say it's a foundational question that every enterprise, every MSSP is struggling with, right? There is a lot of data. Data is growing very fast, faster than what many predicted, right? So how do you really solve for the problem? One thing we learned with our customers, keeping up our customer obsession value, we spent a lot of time with them, and they would say, listen, what I do with my legacy SIEM today is I don't have enough budget, So, and it's very expensive, so I just don't put that data. So how are you tackling those use cases? Well, I'm trying to look for some open source solutions where I can plug in that data and do some analytics outside and spend people time to do it. So, after understanding that for multiple years, we said, let's just take a step back. We're going to first fundamentally solve this, build an intelligent data fabric, and we made a revolutionary announcement. I would say it's the best thing since the slice of bread coming from a technical person. We announced a data optimizer capability, which is helping companies reduce the data by 50% using our out-of-the-box content. I mean, imagine you can now have an advanced SIEM capability and still pay a lot less, or rebalance your spend to add in other data points, other telemetry that you needed for other use cases that you wanted to cover for. So that's how we're solving for it. Anybody who's not thinking in those lines, I think we're missing out, because now you have an option to reduce that cost and tackle that pain point that you've been talking about for a while.
Neda, talk about how Belk is addressing this challenge of needing the visibility, but also the current limitations of the technology at large. How do you address that, or how do you work with that?
I would have to say that the data optimization product that is now part of Gurucul has kind of made a game changer for us, right? Because we were doing exactly and have been doing exactly what Saryu alluded to, right? Is how do I push and pull my budget enough that I'm covering something, that I'm covering the biggest, what I think is the biggest threat, but I don't really know because I can't get to all the data to see where the threat is. So because of the cost. So with this, we are refocusing and looking at our budgets to say, yes, I'm going to save money, but I'm really not going to take that out of my budget. I'm going to push it somewhere else and help move my organization up the value chain and reduce risk within the organization. So and we also now have the ability to really talk to our organization as a whole about data and about the importance of data when it comes to AI, and the importance of clean data, and the importance of cleansed data, and knowing where that data goes and flows and everything. And so this is that way that we're headed and where we need to go, because again, any AI ML model, right? It's as good as the data that comes in, and you have to trust the data. So we've got to do a lot of that cleansing, and we've got to do that. And so being able to optimize my data and drive down that path is game changer, right? Because it really helps me with my budget, because if I can eliminate 50% of my data that I'm not storing,
Sure.
that I don't need to store, it's duplicative or whatever, then that's a game changer. So
Are these business dynamics evident or well understood by, say, your board or your CFO? This stuff obviously costs money. There are things as budgets. Like how tech savvy are they around these particular issues?
Well, I think a board is made of people that are really good at what they do, right? And when you go to the board and when you talk to your senior executives, you're relying on what they do really well, and they're relying on what you do really well. And so what I usually try to do is get to a like language, and the like language is risk, right? And so with Gurucul, I am able to see, here's how much risk I have, here's where I can be, here's where we are today, we have to do X, Y, and Z to be able to reduce that risk. So it makes that conversation that much easier, right? Because I could go to the board, and while they're technical, it doesn't mean that they know what the new shiny object is, right? So when I can talk about risk and reducing risk, and I can show the data in that way, it's a home run. So.
Thanks for that.
And who doesn't understand the language of risk and money, right? That's understood all across. And one important thing I wanted to highlight from Neda's discussion is all the data that you're optimizing still stays. Like, you can search all of that data.
Right.
So even for compliance, you're not losing any data. 100% of data remains, but you only take, let's say, 50% that you truly need for threat detection. So you have the highest ROI for the money you're spending with your SIEM.
Saryu, real briefly now, how do you coach customers on the application of AI into the SecOps lifecycle? Talk to us about the prerequisites and the precautions involved.
Absolutely. I'll just sum it up in 3 ways, right? First is the analyst experience, I think, is the highest ROI from the AI application in SecOps. We've seen a ton of success there, so making the analyst experience better, giving them a buddy really to do things faster, cutting down their time per investigation is powerful. Second is using AI for adversarial techniques for detections has been very powerful. And the third thing I would say is the whole UI UX experience with how you interact with the platform can save a ton of time. So those would be my 3 highlights. And customers get it. The data has to be right. You have to have the right optimization of data. So you are training it on the right data set. Those would be the key things.
We have covered a lot of ground in the SIEM market, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us on the news desk today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Being here.
We've
been talking with Saryu Nayyar of Gurucul, as well as Neda Pitt with Belk. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment.